Welcome to Smart Brown Voices, your weekly podcast featuring diverse voices from around the world, giving you insights on how others made it big in their respective fields. Now sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready to be inspired. And don't forget to use hashtag #SmartBrownVoices to share insights, moments of wisdom, and things from the show that inspire you. And now, here's your host, social media nerd and technology activist, Mr. Mike Street.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Mr. Mike Street. Welcome to September. We are back with a new season of Smart Brown Voices. I've been on vacation, so that's why we haven't been uploading too many episodes, because I wanted just to take a short break, relax, relate. We were in Costa Rica, we went to Mexico, so the whole crew is back and we're ready to bring you exciting new shows for the fall, winter, and beyond. So let's get right into it. Today's guest is Christina Faith, and she's going to be talking to us about how she's created pretty much her own online show called Single and Anxious, and how she's been able to, to kind of master the world and become a female director with almost $0, so I'm pretty sure if you guys watch shows like Insecure and everything else that's on the web, this episode will be pretty interesting to you. So let's welcome Christina Faith to Smart Brown Voices. Hey, Christina, how are you today?
Hey, Mike, how you doing? I am great. I'm great. We are working right along.
Awesome. Well, welcome to fall. Can you believe it's fall already?
I can't. I can't believe it's fall, and I also can't believe that it's still hot outside. I don't know where you are, but in Philly, it's still hot, and I'm confused.
I am in the NYC area, and it is also very hot.
But I'm excited that it's fall. Pumpkin spice stuff is here.
Yes. All those good pumpkin treats are here for us.
Indeed.
All right. So, Christina, give us a little bit of background on who you are and how you created the show Single and Anxious.
Okay. So I am a 30-something female. I look like I'm 20, so that's great. And my background is not in film or anything related. Kind of what happened was, after I got my BA and then I was in grad school, I discovered, hey, I think I have this really big desire for film and to create things. And in 2006, I started a company called, at the time it was Collab Design Group, and we really focused on design, web, content development, and things like that. In 2008, I switched over to film. I took a photo of my niece with an iPhone, and it unlocked the world for me. And with photos, I felt like I was really constricted a little bit. And then I met my husband, and he was a photographer, so I no longer needed to do photos. So throughout the time, I just really honed my skills in film, and we did a lot of work. We run a full-service production company called Creative Thought Media in Philadelphia, and we service Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, New York. We're kind of like all over. We go anywhere. So in 2000 and I think it was 12, I was writing a book called Single and Anxious. That was a nonfiction book, but I really wanted to bring some ideas to life, and I started to write a script called Single and Anxious. I reached out to a few people that I knew that were executive producers and things like that, and they were like, why don't you just make it yourself? If you make it yourself, you can have more leverage and you'll really own the concept, as opposed to allowing someone else to develop your concept and you're only getting writer or creator credits. So in 2014, I made it myself, and it was horrible. And we went back to the drawing board in 2015, released again in 2016. And now we're in 2017, where we've figured out really how to create an amazing production with absolutely no money. We would love to have money, but with, when you want to keep your creative control and you want to keep producing things, it's really hard without a budget. But we figured out how to hone it and make a really amazing production.
So let's start from the beginning. So you came back. So you started with a book project, and then you developed that book project into something a bit bigger, which was creating an online series. So what was the process of really, starting to adapt your the ideas and the concepts you had in the book, and then turn them into something that, people would want to watch on the web?
So I think, well, the book comes out October 3rd as well. But the thing about the book is the book and the show kind of have nothing to do with each other, but they do. It's an adaptation, but it's more a taking my anxiety as a single person when I was single, and then bringing characters to life based on how I kind of like saw them. So pulling in different people, places, and things that I had been around. One of the first things that I did was create the character profiles. If you want to create any show or a movie or anything like that, the outline of the characters is probably the most important thing. So I really kind of like went online and I found styles of people that I wanted the characters to represent. And then I wrote the profiles based off of that. So that's kind of like they have the same name, but they're completely two different brain sources in a sense. So Carissa isn't me, the lead character, but she has pieces of me. She's actually more a few of my friends put together that I was like, how would my friends and I have issues with relationships without necessarily being nonfiction, but being fiction? So the first thing for me was character development.
Right. So we start from character development. So once you have the characters kind of down and locked in, then you move into the script phase. And
so then I moved into scripting, and right after the character development, I went into scripting. And the first time I did it, I kind of like wrote, but I wrote with a style of wanting to keep it low budget. And I think that was kind of like my biggest issue, and why the first time I did it, it didn't succeed as well. And then the second time, kind of like fast forwarding, because people will never see what I did the first time. I scrubbed the internet of it. So the second time we wrote with who cares about the budget. So what happened was I wrote the first script, and I had about 3 or 4 of them already written. And then I brought in some other writers into the writer's room to perfect it. And then from there, we went on to casting. We skipped every other step and we went straight to casting, found the people that really fit these characters. And then we started rehearsing. We were immediately in rehearsals. After we casted them, we went into a lot of rehearsals, and then we went into locations and scouting and shot lists and things like that.
Excellent. So what was the process of finding your talent? Did you put out a casting call? Was it, friends and family?
So Philadelphia is very hard for casting call. It's not like a New York. It's not like a LA or an Atlanta. There are not actors here that are just consistently studying and working. There are very few of them. So for us, a lot of it was, we did put out casting calls for the lead actors, and it just didn't pan out. So what we ended up doing was going to acting classes and finding people who were already acting that we really thought could fit, and inviting them to our table read. With season 2, we did do casting calls, and it was an arduous process. And in that process, we were able to cast 30 more people, but it took us about 3 or 4 casting calls to do it, because it's, a lot of people don't come out. So, but we ended up getting people from Delaware, Maryland, New York, as well as Philadelphia to be able to take part in the project.
I also appreciate that you put the Mer in Maryland, because I'm from the DC, I'm from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area also. So some people are like Maryland. It's Maryland. So you've got your script, you got your cast.
Yeah.
So walk us through now, once you've got all that, and that's, probably like, 60% of the production is getting all that stuff done. Now it's time to shoot. So give us some details about, the shooting process and really bringing the whole thing to life.
So, okay, if anyone who's listening goes back to Single and Anxious season 1, you'll notice when Single and Anxious season 2 comes out on October 8th that it's a complete step up. So the first time was good. Like, we got the attention of Fox, we got the attention of BET, but it was good, but it wasn't great. So we kind of went back. And one of the big things that people will see from Single and Anxious season 1 to 2 is the acting improved 1,000%. So also what we did was we partnered with an acting coach who came into not into our rehearsals, but came alongside of us, and we sent every one of our actors to coaching. So after we did the coaching and the rehearsals, we went over to filming. What it feels like filming a series, our series is about 21 to 25 minutes per episode. and it's not a typical web series. So a typical web series will kind of be like in a lot of the same locations. It'll only have maybe 6 to 7 actors total with some extras. Season 2 for us was lead actors, seven lead actors, but then 25 speaking role actors, because we tell backstories. We bring in families and things like that. So for us, it was a bit different. So the first thing for us with shooting is figuring out how we can get all of these people, like literally including extras. We had 85 people, not including crew. So how do we get all these people at one place at one time on the same mission, but then do that in 25 different locations? So what we did was, our first step is, okay, give me your schedules. So everyone has to give us your availability on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as well as Mondays, and tell us what you can and cannot do. And then we scheduled according to availability. So one day we could be shooting for 14 to 16 hours. Another day could be like a Monday, and we'll shoot after people get off of work until 1 a.m. So once we start shooting, we shoot according to location and actors, and then we funnel them in all throughout the day. Normally, everyone is there all day, and it's really a family affair. We eat on set. That's probably like one of the biggest, headaches of doing something low budget is the food. Like, I could find locations, I could find all kinds of stuff. So we ended up getting sponsored by a lot of people in order to make that happen. So when we get to set, our DP is setting up, our crew is setting up, sound is setting up. The actors are also working with the acting coach as well as me as the director that day, to make sure that they're in the pocket. And we just go at it. We go at it.
Nice. So now that you've got everything shot, walk us through the editing process, and then how, and then really like, how do you,
okay,
how do you get from the edit, to the web, and really talk us through some of that as well.
All right. So I think the first thing that most people don't do is, when you get back to dumping your footage, it's really archiving it. That's the first thing that our assistant editors do, is we create a catalog system. So, with the slate, right? So everyone knows that, a slate has a purpose, but a lot of people don't know what the purpose of a slate is. So the purpose of a slate is not just so that you'll know when it starts with the clap, but also that you can name each take. So we name each take according to episode, scene, and take. And then we organize all the footage from that. Then what we do after that, and that process normally takes about a day just to organize all the footage. We shoot over 1 terabyte worth of footage throughout the season. And then what we do is we then sync it up, because we use mirrorless cameras. We shoot in 4K, so we sync the audio and the video up, and then name those as well. So they'll go into the premiere sequence in specific folders named as the actual take, so that when the editor gets there, they can pull from the takes. On set, we have a script supervisor. Our script supervisor is there tracking all of the actors' lines and continuity, making sure that they're right. So when we go back to the editing process, we have a take sheet, and we're very different. Some people watch all the footage. We only watch the footage that the director and the script supervisor while on set has said was good. And then if we can't find something, or, a line doesn't land the way that we want to, then we'll go back into the other footage that we shot that wasn't, selected as good on the take sheet. After that, you then take your script, and you take your Premiere file, and you start editing. We have 4 lead editors that worked on this project. Myself, our DP, Eric, Aja, Tay Marquis Adams, and then Fan Sanders, who's also an actor as well. And she is a writer, and she did some casting with us too. So it's 4 editors. Normally with each episode, there's 1 lead editor, one person who just really trucks through the edit. And then there's also assistant editing, someone who puts together the project or comes behind the person to help kind of like smooth the project out. By trade, I am an editor. So a big part of the way that we save money is I'm able to teach people how to edit. So most of these guys were not, lead editors when they started. Like Tay is an 18-year-old that is a part of a school that we teach film at, and he just latched onto us within the last 6 months and hasn't left. So now he's editing like a professional now. Well, he edits professionally now. So after we do that, we then take the edit, the rough cut edit, and then we'll start to smooth it out before it's a fine cut along the way. And then once everything is locked, then we'll the actual edit will lay in the B-roll. It took us about 3 days shooting B-roll to get all the B-roll that we needed throughout the city and things like that. Then after all that's done, we'll go back and we'll start coloring it. There's also the process of music. We have a soundtrack. We have 2 soundtracks actually for our show. And that's also one of the big things that stops people from moving forward is music, because you have to have everything licensed. You can't put anything out with somebody else's song because it won't upload, and then there's also a chance that it'll get taken down and stuff. So we have someone, Ashley Holbrook in the UK. He did our score. But then we also went and found really amazing music on the web and had submissions and things like that. And then we placed that music inside of the cut as well. So for us, our score has actual scores as well as a soundtrack. We have about 25 songs that'll be on the soundtrack. And then we also have like the traditional soundtrack that you would hear, for example, in an action movie. We have that soundtrack too, so we'll have 2 soundtracks for the show. So you'll have your relaxing, getting work done soundtrack that'll kind of like move you through, and then you'll have your music that's R&B and hip hop. Then after all that is done, it's a process, and we do it in 8 weeks, which is crazy. Then after all that is done, which we're in the final touches of that now, we take it to sound mix, and we take it to audio engineer, and then we mix the sound. We make sure, I forgot one process. There's also someone who does Foley. So if you're ever watching a show or anything like that and you hear little things like keys jingle, doors close, people in the background, our music supervisor, who also supervised our audio while on set, she then did all the Foley as well. So we'll take the Foley, we'll take the main tracks of everything of the cut, and then we'll take that to a sound engineer along with the music, along with the score, and the sound engineer will then mix that all together to make sure everything is smooth. So I sit alongside of him, Benny on the boards. He actually just got a song placed with Jasmine Sullivan off the Insecure soundtrack. He mixed that. So we come together with him and then we mix it. And then there's also this process called ADR. So it's audio dub recording. So what you do is you go into the studio, and then if, for example, when we did any pizzeria shots or any diner shots, we couldn't turn off all of the refrigeration. And in the midst of that, your audio just isn't going to be clean. So the actors then have to come in and they have to actually do the vocals over. We try to do that process normally while we're doing sound mixing, but we'll try to save as much as we can because for us, our goal is to get picked up by a streaming network. So we need to make everything as professional as possible. We don't want to have, there's Awkward Black Girl, and then, for example, there's Insecure. The difference between Awkward Black Girl and Insecure, honestly, is the production. It's not necessarily that it's just a brand new show. It's that their production is subpar. So for us, because we're a production company, our goal was to create a production that we can say, hey, we can do our own production and we can hire our own people to do it. And then after sound mixing and the coloring was already done, the coloring is done simultaneously with the sound mixing. Myself and the DP, we did the coloring. He did the bulk of it, and I just come back and smooth through it, make sure it's right. And yeah, that's the bulk of the process. Talking, it seems a bit easy, but it's a lot of steps. There are so many
Sounds like a meticulous process.
It is. It's so, and then you also have to get licensing for everything. So you got to have releases for your actors, your locations. You got to have releases for the music. You've got to have releases for everything possible. So it's very meticulous to do film. And I think sometimes the process is so meticulous that people don't get that really clean production because it's so meticulous. If you don't have people that can come alongside of you and critique you. One of the big differences, besides our acting coaching with Single Anxious season 1 and season 2, is that we brought in professional DPs with 25 plus years of experienced colorists. We brought in a few people just to critique us and tell us what we did wrong and how to make it better. So literally they sat with us for 8 to 10 hours, a couple days, and said, oh, this is great, but this is what you can do to make it better. One of the biggest things that we learned concerning our lighting and learning lighting Black people is using what's called practical lights. So when you're watching a show or watching a TV show, you'll see like a lamp, somewhere near someone, because that's an indication that light exists. So the light isn't just coming from the LEDs or the RE kit that we're using. It's also, the light source is also coming from other places. And for us, that's been really majorly important for us, is to be humble enough so that someone can critique you. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So thank you for walking us,
Yeah.
through. Because I want our listeners to be able to just have a great appreciation for all of the work that goes into putting these productions together. Because we watch these web shows and a lot of people don't understand. That's a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy that really goes into making them look the way they look.
Yeah, and I think one thing that people don't, and I keep this with me, our acting coach said, people aren't, they're not comparing you to, other web series. They're comparing you to their favorite shows. So along with the barrier of, not needing to wait for distribution to really just make things without permission, is that barrier is taken down, but also the expectation is higher. It's like, oh, but why don't you look like this show? And it's like, because we don't have, $500,000 an episode. For us, we literally had nothing. Like, we got sponsored by Kiki Vodka, by Lagunitas Beer, by Acme. We got sponsored by people's families saying, hey, we really want to support. Let us cover your food for a day. So for us, last season, the first season, I pretty much cooked all the food. Like, the night before we shot, I was on the grill grilling chicken, So this season, we didn't have any budget this season. Last season we had something. This season we had nothing. So seeing, just all of that goes into making something beautiful and is crazy. Like, I have an appreciation for the process that I didn't have, like, even from last season to this season.
So now you said that you've gotten attention from places like Fox and also from BET. So what is your end game with the show? What if you could, if somebody could wave a magic wand tomorrow and say, bam, you can have whatever you want, what would that be?
Have whatever I want, I just want creative control. Honestly, I think the deals that Ava DuVernay has made, Shonda Rhimes have now made, are like super important with like a Netflix. And I'm not limiting ourselves to a Netflix. We want to do it ourselves. We don't want someone to come in and do what they want with our vision, especially because we've put so much work into it already, and even building a platform and stuff. So our end game is to get one show signed and then keep getting other shows as well as film signed and then teach others. That's really a big aspect of us. Everyone on our team that is crew had no prior knowledge of what they're doing now. Our sound engineer is mixing it and it's like, yo, you guys did a great job. They didn't know what they were doing when we started. I just taught them what I knew, and now they have a profession. So that's really important to us, to be able to maintain creative control and then to hire people that you normally wouldn't see. So we are Black people. Our cast is 90% Black. We do have some people that are not Black in the show, but it's really important for us to show inclusion on the screen as well as off the screen. So even next season, you're going to see a lot more diverse faces according to the storyline. And behind the scenes, just making sure that people have an opportunity.
That's amazing. I mean, I think it's really a great skill that you're giving to the to the Philadelphia community, because like you were saying earlier, it is not known for being a TV or a TV production hub, but giving this community the skill sets to be able to edit and shoot and produce production. That's an industry that you could help really break in that community.
Yeah, it's really important to me. I think because I'm actually from Jersey. So when I came to Philly in 2008 in grad school. And I think that this is one of the most underrated cities in the world for filming. And it's really important to me to be able to, instead of just leaving, because everyone leaves and they go to Atlanta, they go to LA, some go to New York, not as much anymore, but create opportunities where we are and then show other people, hey, you can stay and then leave later after you've made, some form of imprint on it. And this has been an amazing city to shoot in. Like, the textures are crazy. You don't see Philly, from this perspective a lot. You normally just see shoot 'em up, bang, bang, Philly, or you see Philly on a movie like Philadelphia. You don't see the inner workings of it. You don't see the beauty as well as the hustle of it. So that's been really dope to put on screen.
Excellent. So our final question today is, our listeners out there, if any one of them are interested in, doing their own production, what would be some resources? And you can give us maybe two or three that they can tap into where they can kind of just get started to learn.
Man, so I think, if you read my bio, one of the things that it says in my bio that I got my MFA from Google University as well as YouTube University. And I think there are so many resources, but I think one of the biggest resources that people don't take advantage of are things like Celtics, CELTX.com. Because I am a director, because we do have a production company, we get scripts all the time from people. And one of my biggest frustration is that they're not formatted. Like, people are writing scripts on Word. You don't need to do that anymore. Like, there are programs that are free that can help you do that. The next thing is get a trial to Adobe Premiere, try it out, learn how to edit. There's a movie called In the Morning that's an amazing Black film, but it took her a year to edit because she had to get the resources to do it. Learn how to edit. If you want to make something good and you want to keep putting it out, it's easier to hire a film crew to get it done than it is to hire an editor, because it takes so much longer. So I would say learn how to edit. Go on YouTube, look at all the, shoot things on your iPhone, take it back and learn how to edit. You can edit on your iPhone. Like, you can edit on your Android. Learn how to edit. And learn how to edit good. Share it with your family and friends. Get critique. If everybody's telling you it's good and no one's telling you it's horrible, get new friends that will be honest with you so that you can move forward in your career.
Excellent. And I'm going to throw a couple of more resources out there as well.
Yeah.
But if you guys are interested, another great place to find classes that you can learn a lot about editing, because I've been taking Camtasia courses on this website, is Umity.com. So that's a really great place for you. If you're interested to learn how to edit, that's a great place to go. And it gives you lots of video tutorials where you can kind of follow through. Also, some of the classes will give you source files so you can kind of mimic, the same places. But yeah, Google University and YouTube University. I mean, everything I've learned about working at the camera, modern cameras now, I've learned through YouTube, because YouTube just has billions of hours of tutorials in there. So if you're not taking advantage of that, you're missing out on a lot of free education.
Indeed.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for giving us this really in-depth overview of production. And I think it's really enlightening for our audience, because they get to see, they enjoy things like, awkward Black girl, but there's lots of work that really goes into it. So
a lot.
we're gonna make sure that we put some of your season 1 episodes in the show so people can watch, and then get ready for season 2 when it comes out on October 8th.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. So, any final words for our audience?
No, share it. I think that's the final word. Even if you don't like it, share it. Tell us why you don't like it. I think, currency is sharing. It'll only be available on Facebook, this second season, season 1. Once we roll out all 6 episodes, it'll then go on YouTube, but we're going to be hitting up Facebook really hard.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
So follow us on Facebook at Single and A&D Anxious, as well as online at singleanxious.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll make sure we'll link to everything so that people can check out the show and follow you guys on social media and all that good stuff.
Thank you much.
All right, guys. This is episode something in the 80s. But as I've been promising, we're going to get to our 100th episode soon. But I'm flipping the switch on it, and we're going to be live streaming episodes 90 through 100. Some of my favorite guests from the past 90 episodes of Smart Brown Voices. So look for that coming soon. So make sure that you actually subscribe to Smart Brown Voices on Facebook, because that's where everything will be going down live. And then for our iTunes audience, I'll put all the audio from those discussions back here for you to enjoy on your iPod's player. All right, so stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to Smart Brown Voices with your host, Mr. Mike Street. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts and make sure to follow us on social media. This has been a Mr. Mike Street production. Join us next time for another edition of Smart Brown Voices and be inspired.